Welcome to this introductory video about the design of the ActivityHD Application User Interface. When you launch ActivityHD, you'll notice that no password is required. This is because it uses your Windows AD authentication. As a result, you don't need to manage, periodically change, or remember a separate password. To begin, let's provide some context for our discussion. Many users primarily interact with the ActivityHD system through a workflow dashboard, especially in larger organizations where employee interactions with the accounting system are compartmentalized. For example, here is a typical dashboard for an AP invoice entry clerk. Priority items such as "has no W-9 on file" are highlighted. Maintenance tasks are identified. And links to other pertinent information are provided. Middle management needs dashboards to monitor activities and ensure adherence to company policy. Here is a typical AP Manager dashboard, offering views into vendors without activity, approval items, invoices missing attachments, aged reports, and has no W-9 on file. Top-level managers are typically infrequent users of the application. Dashboards for this group should provide guided access to data, often in the form of graphical presentations. Here is a typical dashboard for the CFO examining a simple quick ratio. Here is another looking at electrical expense. We can click on a certain data point, see the postings in ActivityHD that create this entry, and then drill back to the originating documents. ActivityHD dashboards are designed for ultimate flexibility, allowing for complete customization to meet specific needs, while ensuring data access is secure and user-specific. Additionally, dashboards are dynamically updated in real time, providing a foundation for efficient and effective workflow management. For now, let's shift our focus and examine ActivityHD from an operational perspective, rather than from a user standpoint. Layout. Let's begin with the introductory screen of ActivityHD. At the top, you'll see a ribbon area. On the left, there's a navigation section listing all the companies you can access within the ActivityHD ERP system. On the right, you'll find a dashboard tailored to your individual preferences. Next, let's expand the navigation pane for one of the companies. Here you'll see a list of application modules available for that company. When you open a module, such as Accounts Payable, you'll find a list of related entities such as vendors, invoices, payments, and notes. Clicking on an entity, like vendors, will provide an index of the vendors. Each company in the navigation pane is identified by a color bar, which is consistently displayed at the top of all windows associated with that company. This allows you to work simultaneously in multiple companies without confusion. Now let's take a closer look at the screen components. At the top, the ribbon is filled with items relevant to the vendor file. At the bottom, there is a status area. On the right, you'll find the contents of the vendor file, which we refer to as the high definition or HD pane, because it allows you to see your data in high definition. This ability to clearly visualize your data is a marquee feature of ActivityHD. Architectural design of application. We'll revisit the layout shortly, but first, let's discuss some fundamental design concepts. An analogy. To quickly grasp a software application, it's helpful to understand its underlying architecture. A practical way to learn a new concept is by relating it to something you already know. Consider a physical filing cabinet. Imagine a drawer filled with vendor records. Inside, you'd find folders, each labeled with a specific vendor's code. When you open a vendor's folder, you'd see various sections, such as invoices, payments, and contacts. ActivityHD follows this same organizational structure. We will use the Accounts Payable application and the vendor file to explore the user interface and reference the filing cabinet analogy. When you open the vendor entity, you'll see a list of vendors in the HD pane. This is analogous to the file folders in the filing cabinet drawer. Selecting a specific vendor will display a detailed screen for that vendor. We refer to this screen as a one-stop shop for the vendor, meaning all information about the vendor is centralized here. This is analogous to opening the physical filing folder and finding more information. You can find all vendor details, including locations, contacts, invoices, payments, default distribution accounts, notes, and more, in this comprehensive view. There's no need to navigate through a complex menu system to find 1099 information or any other details. It's all available in the one-stop shop. Options in HD pane. Now, let's revisit the vendor folder. The list of vendors appears to be somewhat cryptic, resembling what you typically see on a file folder tab. This basic index may not provide enough information to fully identify a specific vendor. To enhance this index, we can go to the Options menu and select additional details, such as the vendor's name, which can be added to our tab. We can also choose to include information like classification, creation date, current balance, and federal ID. In fact, we have over 50 data items available to help identify our vendors more accurately. We refer to this enriched list as a synopsis, as it is far more detailed than a simple index. Furthermore, if we double-click on the synopsis, we are taken to the comprehensive, one-stop shop view of the vendor. Filters. What can we do with synopsis in the HD view? We can sort data by column headings in both ascending and descending order. Columns can be rearranged, and we can apply various filters to the data. For instance, we can filter to show only vendors with an outstanding balance, or vendors without a W-9 on file. Some filters allow for runtime parameters, such as identifying vendors with no activity since a specific date. In addition to many built-in filters, you can create custom filters tailored to your role. These custom filters can be shared with others or kept private. Another powerful filtering feature is the lookup box. Hovering over the lookup box displays which data elements it uses in the status bar, such as code and description. By entering specific queries in the lookup box, we can filter vendors efficiently. For example, entering the letter G filters vendors whose code or description starts with a G. Entering *G filters vendors with a G anywhere in the code or description, while letter G finds vendors with a letter G as the third character. This wildcard functionality helps quickly identify a vendor when you remember only partial information, like *insurance. This feature is particularly beneficial for managers who do not access vendor information on a daily basis. Filters and lookups can be combined for more precise results. For example, you can filter to show all vendors with a T in their name who have an outstanding balance. Another useful filter is Include Obsolete. You can mark any vendor as obsolete at any time, retaining all historical records. By including obsolete vendors, you can view them in the HD pane and access their one-stop shop to see historical information. Consistency across all modules. While we've focused on the vendor entity, the user interface is consistent across all modules. For instance, in the Fixed Asset module, you can use the lookup filter, *pump, include obsolete assets, or filter to see depreciable assets as of a specific date. You can access the one-stop shop for assets to explore further details, including retirement information, GL postings, notes, and attachments. This consistency ensures a seamless experience throughout the ActivityHD system. Explore the one-stop shop. Let's return to the AP vendor entity to explore more interesting features of the user interface. We'll start by opening the one-stop shop for the vendor kitten pump and examining the Invoices tab. This tab is an embedded HD pane, where each entry provides a synopsis of an invoice from Kitten Pump. Opening any invoice reveals its comprehensive, one-stop shop view, where everything related to that invoice is available. On the first tab, we see detailed posting information into the general ledger and 1099 information in the AP Codes section at the bottom. Other tabs at the bottom display all payments related to this invoice, notes in the Notes tab, and the Asset Cost tab, which shows a synopsis of the fixed asset purchased. From here, we can drill into the fixed asset record. The Attachments tab lists all attachments. Attachments. Among these attachments are the original vendor invoice, a PDF of the service manual, a spreadsheet analysis of alternative products, and an email related to this device. The key point is that you can attach anything to anything in ActivityHD. How is this accomplished? Through drag and drop. For example, here's a folder of scanned invoices. We can see an invoice in the previewer. Simply grab the PDF and drag it onto the ActivityHD record, and voila, it is attached. However, not all attachments in ActivityHD require drag and drop. Consider the Kitten Pump vendor record under the 1099 tab. Here we have a history of 1099s issued to this vendor over the past few years. Drilling into the 2022 record and looking at the Attachments tab, we see the copy B of the 1099 miscellaneous document. Since the ActivityHD system produced this document, it was automatically attached as it was printed. No scanning or drag and drop is required. Also, look at the Payments tab for the vendor. Open one of the payments and check the attachment. You will see an image of the check. This attachment was provided automatically. In general, if ActivityHD produces a document, it can be automatically attached to the appropriate accounting record during the printing operation. Data visualization. Now, let's examine some additional user interface features. When viewing the synopsis in the HD pane, we can highlight any subset of rows. In the status bar, we see we have highlighted 8 of the total 4,577 rows. If there are numeric columns in the view, the total of these numeric columns is listed in the status area, along with the sort order. When viewing your data in the HD pane, you can easily spot any missing information. For instance, while the AP liability account is not a required field for vendors, providing this account can make data entry for new invoices more efficient. We notice several instances where this account is missing. Sorting by this column and updating each record individually would be tedious and error-prone. Mass change. Fortunately, ActivityHD offers a mass change feature that streamlines this process. Simply highlight all the records to be updated, select the mass change operation, locate the AP account mask field, and enter the desired value. Active database. Before proceeding with this operation, let's highlight another unique feature of ActivityHD. ActivityHD was designed with the concept of an active database, ensuring that any changes made to the data are instantly visible to all users without requiring a manual refresh. Watch the column update in real time as the mass change operation is performed. This demonstrates the power and flexibility of the mass change feature. While the active database technology might initially seem like a nice-to-have feature, you will quickly realize its extreme usefulness as you use ActivityHD. This is why active, as used in ActivityHD, is part of the product's name. This technology also facilitates workflows, which are implemented as active dashboard inboxes. Custom fields. Let's discuss custom data or custom fields. Despite the best efforts of accounting software designers, there is always a need to record specific data on master file entities or transactions. ActivityHD allows you to add this data through custom fields. We'll use the vendor entity as an example. Suppose we want to rate our vendors in 3 classifications: red, yellow, and green, to signify payment priority. Right-click the vendor entity and choose Custom Fields. Name the custom field Payment Priority and select the data type. Note the rich set of data types available. We'll choose the text data type with a length of 10, include a validation to limit the values, and save. We can also include the custom field in the HD pane. Open the comprehensive view for a vendor, and you'll see a new tab at the bottom for custom fields. Instead of selecting each record and classifying it manually, why not use the mass change facility we demonstrated earlier to change an entire group at once? Custom fields offer much more than just recording a text value. For example, consider the customer record and its available custom fields. One field records the nonprofit status, while another pertains to industrial classification, validated against a custom data folder with a comprehensive list of NAICS codes. Additionally, there is a multi-valued field listing the principals of the customer enterprise, validated from an internal ActivityHD table. Furthermore, there are links to the Exchange and LinkedIn accounts specifically for this customer, with tabs that allow direct access to these applications embedded in the ActivityHD application. Custom fields are universally available for all entities, including transactions and setup tables. With custom fields in ActivityHD, you can build comprehensive data solutions tailored to your specific needs. New copy. Here is another feature that you will find useful: new copy. Suppose you purchase a new asset and want to depreciate in exactly the same way as a previous asset. Just new copy the old asset. Assign a new code. Change the description, dates, location, and other details as appropriate. This also works for transactions. We have a new insurance invoice similar in character to the prior year invoice. Locate the prior year invoice. New copy the invoice, and change the applicable fields to reflect the current invoice. New copy helps maintain consistency in the creation of your data. Office integration. ActivityHD integrates with the Microsoft Office suite. Consider any ActivityHD synopsis view. if we highlight a specific subset of rows or the entire HD pane contents, we have the option of exporting this data to Excel. The resulting Excel is a table, which can be sorted and filtered by any column. Here is a Microsoft Word document that is used to generate past due letters to send to customers. It has content controls built in to receive the data from ActivityHD. As we process the Word document against the past due invoices, we have a document that can be sent to the customer. Office applications like Excel and Word are built using a Microsoft-developed technology known as the Component Object Model, or COM, interface. Likewise, ActivityHD is built using COM. The bot technology we offer with ActivityHD can access and manipulate COM objects. Here we run a bot to analyze a prepaid expense account from ActivityHD. We choose the account to analyze in the chart of accounts, give beginning and ending dates, and the monthly calendar. The bot then accesses the ActivityHD accounting data and builds an Excel spreadsheet analyzing the prepaid account with each prepaid component: beginning balance for the period, the expenditure for each prepaid item by month, and the ending balance for each prepaid item. ActivityHD excels in the integration with the Microsoft Office components. Date expressions. Many accounting processes require a date delimiter. For example, aging reports. ActivityHD has a concept of date expressions, which is very useful. Date expressions are described in verbiage relative to today's date. For example, end of month, or beginning of year, or beginning of current period minus 1 day. Here we see an aged receivable dialog, and note that the report date is coded with the term today. The current is encoded as today minus 30 days, and the over 90 is encoded as today minus 90 days. Date expressions are available almost everywhere a date is entered in ActivityHD. Customized views in the HD pane. Recall, the high-definition pane is a marquee feature of ActivityHD. This is where you can see your data. For every HD pane, there is a default view. Here is the default view for the vendor file. But every user has their own unique way that they want to see their data. The HD pane is highly customizable to accommodate each user's individual preference. Customizations include the columns shown, the column arrangement, the sort order, and any filter applied. Here is a view of vendors by creation date, with the most recent at the top. Here is a view of vendors with a filing status of individual or partnership. Here is a view of all vendors with no activity for the prior 2 years. Here is a view of customers filtered to the state of Texas. Here is a view of the customer file showing high balance and average days to pay sorted by current balance. Here is a customer file view showing aging amounts. The possibilities are endless and can be saved and modified at will. This can be daunting for new and casual users. They need a guide. This is where dashboards are key. Dashboards. Dashboards can be designed for individual users and present a viewport into the data. Instead of working directly with the HD pane, the dashboards can be used as a simple way to display data to beginning or casual users. Here is an AP user dashboard, which has links to the views shown previously. You can drill into the data from the dashboard. For creation date, for filing status of individual or partnership, and no invoices for prior 2 years. But dashboards are much more than convenient guides to the underlying data. Note, at the bottom in the status area, the count of the vendors with no invoices for the prior 2 years is shown. We can modify the dashboard to include the count of items in each list as shown here. Looking at the filing status, we see as we drill down the 23 vendors with a filing status of individual or partnership. But the real power is that these counts are active. In other words, these counts update in real time as the underlying data changes. For example, if we add a new vendor, watch the vendors with no invoices increase by 1. And if we change this new vendor to have a filing status of individual, watch the filing status count change. And if we delete this new vendor, we see all the counts decrement by 1. We can enhance the dashboard item by placing dollar amounts on the dashboard tile. And of course the dollar amounts are active also. If we want to investigate the 3 past due invoices, just click. Why is this important? The active feature of the dashboard is the foundation of ActivityHD's workflow, making it an integrated notification system. Here is an AP manager's priority to-do list. We can add additional viewports into maintenance, reporting, and information. Clicking will allow the manager to examine vendors without locations. This is highlighted as critical because vendors without locations cannot be paid. We can run reports such as this aging report. We can link to websites. We have direct access to critical information for the AP manager, such as bank balance. Managers often want graphics for analytics. Now, look at this graphic showcasing electrical power expenditures. You can switch the view from monthly to year to date. Adjust the information displayed on the graph. And even add budget data for comparison. You can also drill down into any part of the graphic to see detailed ActivityHD postings. And from there, trace back to the original invoice image. This level of investigative power is truly a manager's dream. As you can see, active dashboards are fundamental to both workflow and analytics in ActivityHD. Conclusion. We hope that this presentation has been useful, and you now understand the richness of the user experience in ActivityHD.